Welcome students, today we are going to start 9th chapter of history, and that is the making of regional cultures. As the medieval period saw the emergence of several regional languages and the associated literature, it is quite common for us to identify a region with its language. Every region is identified with a certain distinct type of food, clothing, poetry, dance, painting, and music. So, let's start this chapter. As when we refer to a person as a Tamil or an Uriya, this usually means that he or she speaks Tamil or Uriya and lives in Tamil Nadu or Odisha. We also tend to associate each region with distinct kind of food, clothes, poetry, dance, music, and paintings. What happened, as we will see, some traditions appear specific to some regions, others seems to be similar across regions, and yet across derive from older practices in a particular area but take a new form in other regions, the Cheras and the development of Malayalam. Let us begin by looking at an example of a connection between language and region. The Chehra kingdom of Mahadevanpur was established in the 9th century in the southwestern part of peninsula, part of present-day Kerala. It is likely that Malayalam was spoken in this area. The rulers introduced the Malayalam language and script in their inscriptions. In fact, this is one of the earliest examples of the use of a regional language in official records in the subcontinent. At the same time, the Chehra also drew upon Sanskritic tradition, the temple theatre of Kerala. The first literary works in Malayalam dated to about the 12th century are directly indebted to Sanskrit. Interestingly enough, a 14th century text, the Leela Latikam, dealing with grammar and poetics, was composed in Maniparvalam, literally diamonds and corals, referring to the two languages, that is Sanskrit and the regional language. Rulers and religious tradition. In other regions, regional culture grew around religious tradition. The best example of this process is the cult of Jagannath, Lord of the world, a name, or Vishnu, we can say at Puri at Odisha. As in several regions, regional cultures developed around religious tradition. The local people made a wooden image of the deity, which originally a local god, came to be identified with Vishnu. Temple became the center of pilgrimage. In the 12th century, one of the most important rulers of the Ganga dynasty, Anantvarman, decided to erect a temple for Purushottam Jagannath at Puri. Subsequently, in 1230, King Anang-Bhima III dedicated his kingdom to the deity and proclaimed himself as a deputy of the god. As the temple gained in importance as a center of pilgrimage, its authority in social and political matters also increased. All those who conquered Odisha, such as the Mughals, the Marathas, and the English East India Company, attempted to gain control over the temple. They felt that this would make their rule acceptable to the local people. The Rajputs and traditions of heroism. In the 19th century, the region and constitutes most of present-day Rajasthan was called Rajputana by the British. While this may suggest that this was an area that was inhabited only or mainly by Rajputs, this is only partially true. There were several groups who identified themselves as Rajputs in many areas of northern and central India. And of course, there are several peoples other than Rajputs who live in Rajasthan. However, the Rajputs are often recognized as contributing to the distinctive culture of Rajasthan. There are many groups who call themselves Rajputs in northern and central India. Prithvi Raj Chauhan was one such ruler. Women had been given a heroic image since they committed sati or self-immolation As I told you about sati, as there are stories about the practice of sati or the immolation of widows on the funeral pyre of their husbands, and Raja Ram Mohan Roy has taken initiative to banning the sati. Now here you all can see map 1. Regions discussed in this chapter are Himachal Pradesh, Bikaner, it means Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh, West Bengal, Odisha. Now let's move forward to Beyond Regional Frontiers, the story of Kathak. The heroic tradition of various regions also helped in the evolution of dance in several regions. One such dance was Kathak, which was evolved in northern India. The Kathak initially were a caste of storytellers in North Indian temples. The legends of Radha Krishna were enacted in folk plays known as Ras Leela. As it integrated folk dance with the basic gestures of the Kathak storytellers, music also developed into various forms like Qawwali, Khayal, and new instrumental like sitar were invented. Under the Mughal emperors and their nobles, Kathak was performed in the court, where it acquired its present features and developed into a form of dance with a distinctive style. Subsequently, it developed in two traditions or gharanas, one in the court of Rajasthan, it means Jaipur, and other in Lucknow, under the patronage of Wajid Ali Shah, the last Nawab of Awadh. It grew into a major art form by the third quarter of the 19th century. It was firmly entrenched as a dance form not only in these two regions but in the adjoining areas of present-day Punjab, Haryana, Jammu and Kashmir, Bihar and Madhya Pradesh. Students, here you all can see dance class Lakshmana Temple of Khajuraho. As Kathak, like several other cultural practice, was viewed with disfavor by most British administrators in the 19th and 20th century. However, it survived and continued to be performed by courtesans and was recognized as one of 6 classical forms of dance in the country after independence, such as Bharatnatyam in Tamil Nadu, Kathakali in Kerala, Odissi in Odisha, Kuchipudi in Andhra Pradesh, Manipuri in Manipur. Paintings for patrons, the tradition of miniature. During this period, one more tradition which deserves our attention is the miniature painting. Miniature are small sized paintings done in watercolor on cloth or paper. Akbar, Jahangir and Shah Jahan hired highly skilled painters to illustrate their manuscripts in the Kitab Khana containing their accounts and poetry. When the Mughal Empire started declining, new artistic taste developed in the regional court of Deccan and Rajput rulers. One bold style of miniature painting was called Bhasoli. As one of the most popular paintings of the Himalaya region was Bhanudatta's Ras Manjaris. As the Kangra artist by mid-18th century infused a new life into miniature painting. At the same time, they retained and developed their distinctive characteristics. Portraits of rulers and court scenes came to be painted, following the Mughal example. Besides, themes from mythology and poetry were depicted at centers such as Mewar, Jodhpur, Bundi, Kota and Kishangarh. Students, here you all can see Maharana Ram Singh II playing Holi Rajput miniature painting of Kota. And in this figure 9, you all can see Krishna Radha and her companion Pahari miniature Kangra. A closer look Bengal, the growth of a regional language. As we saw at the outset, we often tend to identify regions in terms of the language spoken by the people. Regional language is the language which a person speaks in a region. It is generally assumed that the Bengali language is spoken by people of Bengali. Bengali originated from Sanskrit but later on developed its own identity and literature. As from the 4th-3rd century BCE, commercial ties began to develop between Bengal and Magad, South Bihar, which may have led to the growing influence of Sanskrit. During the 4th century, the Gupta rulers established political control over North Bengal and began to settle Brahmanas in this area. Thus, the linguistic and cultural influence from the Ganga mid-Ganga valley became stronger. In the 7th century, the Chinese traveler Huanzhang observed that languages related to Sanskrit were in use all over Bengal. Bengali, or as I told you about, Bengali was originated from Sanskrit but later on developed its own identity and literature. Early Bengali literature may be divided into two categories. The first includes translation from Sanskrit epics and the second includes Nath literature. In 1586, when Akbar conquered Bengal, it formed the nucleus of the Bengal Suba. While Persian was the language of administration, Bengali developed as a regional language. In fact, by the 15th century, the Bengali group of dialects came to be united by a common literary language based on the spoken language of the western part of the region, now known as West Bengali. Also, a wide range of non-Sanskritic words derived from a variety of sources including tribal languages, Persian and European languages have become part of modern Bengali. As Mangal Kavya, auspicious poems dealing with local deities, and Bhakti literature such as biographies of Chaitanya Deva, the leader of the Vaishnava Bhakti movement. The second include Nath literature such as the songs of Mainavati and Gopi Chandal stories concerning the worship of Dharma Thakur, and fairy tales, folk tales and ballads, peers and temples. From the 16th century, people migrated in large numbers from less fertile western Bengal to the forested and marshy of southeastern Bengal. With Mughal control over Bengal, the capital shifted to Dhaka. Officials received land grants, mosques were set up. The early settlers got help from teachers called peers. They included saints or Sufis and prominent religious personalities. These were provided by community leaders who also functioned as teachers and educators and were sometimes ascribed with supernatural powers. People referred to them with affection and respect as peers. The term includes saints or Sufis and other religious personalities during colonizers and defined soldiers, various Hindus and Buddhist deities, and even animistic spirit. The cult of Peer became very popular and their shrines can be found everywhere in Bengal. Let me tell you, animism means attribution of living soul or soul to plants, inanimate objects and natural phenomena. As Bengal witnessed a temple building spree from the late 15th century, which culminated in the 19th century. Many of the modest brick and terracotta temple in Bengal were built with the support of several low social groups such as the Kolu, oil pressure, and the Khansari, bell metal worker. The coming of the European trading companies created new economic opportunities. Many families belonging to these social groups availed of these as their social and economic position improved. Now here in this figure you all can see a double roofed thatched huts, and this figure is showing a four roofed temple with a tower. It means this is Dhochala and this one is Chahuchala. And here in figure 13 you all can see Krishna with gopis terracotta plaque from the Shamarya temple Vishnupur. Temples were usually built on a square platform. The interior was relatively plain, but the outer walls of many temples were decorated with paintings, ornamental tiles, or terracotta tablets. In some temples, particularly in Vishnupur in the Bankura district of West Bengal, such rations reached a high degree of excellence. Now let's move to fish as food. Traditional food habits are generally based on locally available items of food. Bengal is a riverine plains which produces plenty of rice and fish. Understandably, these two items figures prominently in the menu of even poor Bengalis. Fishing has always been important occupation, and Bengali literature contains several references to fish. What is more, terracotta plaque on the walls of temples and Vihara Buddhist monasteries depict scenes of fish being dressed and taken to the market in the basket. Brahmanas were not allowed to eat non-vegetarian food, but the popularity of fish in the local diet made the Brahminical authorities relax this prohibition for the Bengal Brahmins. The Brihadevarman Purana, a 13th century Sanskrit text from Bengal, permitted the local Brahmins to eat certain varieties of fish. Here in figure 14 you all can see fish being dressed for domestic consumption, terracotta plate from the Vishalakshi temple, Arambagh. Now this is a time for discussion of question and answers, and your first question is match the following. Anantvarman, Odisha; Jagannath, Puri; Mahadevanpur, Kerala; Leela Latikam, Kerala; Mangal Kavya, Bengal; miniature, and it is found in Kangra. Okay. Now second question is, what is Maniparrivallam? Name a book written in that language. So you can write Maniparrivallam was a literary style used in medieval linguistical text in South India, which used an admixture of Tamil and Sanskrit. Leela Latikam is a text in Maniparrivallam. Now question number 3 is, who were the major patrons of Kathak? Your answer is, major patrons of Kathak were the Mughal emperors and the Nawabs of Lucknow, especially Wajid Ali Shah. Now question number 4 is, what are the important architectural features of the temples of Bengal? So you all can write important architectural features of the temples of Bengal. Number 1, the double roofed dhochala or four roofed chauchala structure of the thatched huts. Secondly, you can write 4 triangular roofs were placed on the 4 walls, move up to coverage on a curved line or a point. Temples were usually built on a square platform. And fourthly, you can write the interior was relatively plain, but the outer walls of many temples were decorated with the paintings, ornamental or terracotta tablets. Now let's move to question number 5. Why did minstrels proclaim the achievements of heroes? So you can write minstrels proclaim the achievement of heroes by following reason. Minstrels proclaim the achievement of heroes to preserve the memories of the heroes. These stories were expected to inspire others to follow their example. Ordinary people were also attracted by these stories which depicted dramatic situations. People also get attracted by the range of strong emotions, loyalty, friendship, love, valor, anger, etc. in the poems or songs. Now question number 6 is, why do we know much more about the cultural practice of rulers than about those of ordinary people? So you can write, we know much more about the cultural practice of rulers because their achievements or work were safely preserved in the palaces for the centuries. Also, the rulers enjoyed intense wealth and power and hired specially trained minstrels to write their achievements in poems or songs. Life of ordinary people were busy in earning their livelihood. Ordinary people did not have enough money or resources to preserve their work even if they had a story or poems. Now your next question is, why did conquerors try to control the temple of Jagannath at Puri? So your answer will be, conquerors tried to gain control over the Jagannath temple at Puri because the temple gained in importance as a center of pilgrimage, wealth, power and culture. Its authority in social and political matters also increased. Conquerors felt that if they conquered this temple, then they would make their rule acceptable to the local people. Now, last question, why were temples built in Bengal? So you can write, temples building in Bengal from the late 15th century gained momentum in the 19th century. Individuals or groups built temples to demonstrate their power and affluence. Some of the temples got constructed with the support of several low social groups. Some families belonging to these social groups availed of the new economic opportunities with the arrival of the European trading companies, with the improvement in their social and economic position. They also built temples to show their status. The local deities once worshipped in thatched huts in village now gained recognizing of the Brahmins. This recognition shifted them from the thatched huts to brick built temples. This is how this chapter is finished. Thank you and have a nice day ahead.